Welcome. It's a small but perfectly formed audience. Very, very chuffed that you're all here. We're going to have an amazing hour. And I'm going to let Jason and Rais introduce themselves because they're going to do a much better job than I can. But from the business school point of view, I just wanted to say thanks for being here. This is the second of our totally alumni-driven events. We had a Women in Leadership one a few weeks ago, and then this is the second one where the alumni chapter is driving the topics, the speakers, and so forth. So it's mimicking what we're doing in Johannesburg. We're doing the same thing here in Cape Town, except we're going to do it better, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're in for a special interactive LinkedIn masterclass. I'm going to be taking notes, all ears. And I think for those that are here and haven't seen the portfolio, the global MBA brochures, please take some home with you, spread the word. Henley's open and alive for business in the Cape, and we need to disseminate that info as wide as possible. So we'd appreciate your help. And without further ado, excuse me, I'm going to hand over to Rais to introduce himself, to then introduce Jason, and then we'll benefit from some expert advice on how to really strategically create and leverage your LinkedIn profile. Rais, you're going to introduce yourself, and I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. Sometimes less is more, which is good. So you have Jason all to yourself. I'm Rais Mohammed. Just literally completed my MBA with Henley. I think that's enough for me to say, and then I think I'll get Jason to introduce himself. And after that, I think I'll have just a short discussion with Jason, just on the perspective of the workshop, LinkedIn, before we really go deep dive into the workshop.
Sounds good, yeah. Should I introduce myself? Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out. It's not a bad weather day, so I don't think there was any other excuse but to be here. So congratulations to you. A little bit about me. So Jason Luboyera, I used to run an agency called 360 Digisales that focused on building some of the best CEOs and founders, personal brands on LinkedIn around the world. It's a great experience. I have a financial management background, but found myself writing cool content and using LinkedIn, HubSpot to, self-actualize in the eyes of other founders. So it's such a beautiful thing, giving your time to other founders. You're so ambitious, it just drives you. So that was a great time. Some will say I had my first divorce. So I had a co-founder who we scaled the business, was doing really well, graduated in EO, basically graduating to about $1 million, and we went our separate ways. And that was about 2 years ago this time. And my business coach told me, you've built a good brand, you've got good clients, you have good IP. Look at your competitors as allies. So fast forward about 10 months, which where I'm today. I am head of growth at FTC through a great partnership with my original business, and it's been great. Now we're a team of 100 with over 150 clients, 120. Well, he knows the details. 120, and I found it. My next step is to actually empower an industry with the knowledge and my experience of LinkedIn, and that's why we're here today.
Cool. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. So I just think what's interesting in the industry when it comes to LinkedIn, I was just chatting to Francois now, and Francois was speaking about how he can actually put himself out there, many years of experience in his industry, doing some advisory work, and how to actually interact with the right people. And I think just from my side and for the audience, why is LinkedIn important in the business world that we're living in today?
So yeah, those are two questions. I see, how do you position yourself given the fact that you've had a long, healthy career but haven't shown up on LinkedIn? and then what is the importance of LinkedIn just in general. So those are two very different individuals. And I firstly empathize with the individual that hadn't seen LinkedIn more than it is today. It was a place you popped up your profile, you sort of said you were an executive or founder, and that was it, glorified CV. But now it's turned into a social media platform. Let's pause with that. Social media platform. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of nonsense that goes on there. It's a time-sucking platform. So that, with that respect, it's about now knowing, okay, the platform has evolved, but what are the right things I need to be doing on the platform, not the wrong things. So don't spend more time on LinkedIn, spend the right time. And when you look at yourself, it's about saying people buy from people. So it's not about selling your product or what you did before. It's about really being honest about who you are now. And people will buy into that. So you don't have to sell product, and you don't need to boast about all the knowledge you have, but just rather take people on a journey of where you were before and where you're going now and who you're helping. And what I see LinkedIn as important for the professional is it's like networking. Think about a networking party. The same behaviors and values and reasons you go to networking parties is the same thing on LinkedIn. So if you have that mindset, then you'll understand that at a networking party, you show up with value. At a networking party, you respect other people. You are curious. All those different things is how you should approach LinkedIn. Versus some people approach it like, would you bring your cat to a networking party? But we have cat photos on LinkedIn, right? I think you get the point, right? So treat it as a networking party, but with a caveat: you smell salespeople at networking parties, right? You smell sharks. So that's also the difference. People who come to networking parties to add value, or people come to networking parties who just want to sell. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. And then I think the next part that aligns well with that is impressions on LinkedIn. Impressions, likes, and interactions. I think a lot of people's afraid to start posting or to post because they're afraid of how many people is gonna like my content, or people post and they look back, how many views, who liked it, who comment. What have you gained in your experience from impressions versus impact?
Let's continue with the analogy of the networking party. If you go to a networking party and there's one person who constantly has everyone around them, they're loud, they impress everyone. And you're like, wow, I wish I was that person. But then you can go and ask that person afterwards, how much of an impact did you actually create? Besides energy sapping vampire, right? Versus the person who sometimes stands at a diagonal, watches the room and approaches the right people, two people, and they have a follow-up conversation and they're in business next month. So that's what I think the difference in vanity metrics and impact on LinkedIn. There are people who write engaging content that gets a lot of likes and comments, but ask them clearly, are people inboxing you saying, I loved what you post, could you help me? Whereas someone else's post could be written, not for you, very well. And then you go and, I think we all do that. Because we have people in our network, we sometimes copy and paste the URL and put it into a group chat, just so we sound more clever, right? We've all done that, I'm pretty sure. That's what you want for your posts. You want them to be shareable and valuable so that it moves the perspective of your individuals versus chasing likes and impressions.
Cool. And then just to end off, before we start the workshop, everybody that's here I spoke to is really interested in actually engaging and learning about how they can improve their brand on LinkedIn. What is the expectations from you for the participants to actually engage here and to actually go away with some valuable insight with this workshop? And then you can also end off with the workshop structure and all of that, and then we can deep dive into the workshop.
Okay, perfect. Before I know I haven't given you anything, but if I can request that we get a little bit more tighter, because the workshop is interactive, right? So you'll see a that there's these little popsicles, right? Red, yellow, or amber and green. So the workshop's going to be interactive, that there's going to be knowledge checks, right? Those knowledge checks are going to give everybody the opportunity, which we're going to have a group leader, to vote on my content. Red means you've talked absolute BS, you've talked over me, I don't understand. Amber, so, you could do better. And green for, oh my God, that information was so good, Jason, I can teach it back to you, right? And the value today is perspective change, right? I want you to think of the relationship you currently have with LinkedIn, and I want to challenge that relationship to have it work for you. That's all I want. Just a perspective on the relationship you have with LinkedIn, but slight change. Is that good?
Cool.
Amazing.
I think 1 minute just before we start, I think from my perspective, working with Jason on a couple of projects and actually seeing some of the people that FTC has worked with and Jason personally, some of the growth has just been, it's been crazy and it's been amazing. And I think just from FTC's perspective and what you can learn from Jason, it's not only about growing on LinkedIn, but you as a person aligning with what you put out there on LinkedIn, which is nice. And when you actually meet the people in person, you actually can engage on the content and what they speak about on LinkedIn because they are experts in what they speak about. And I think that's just the organic growth of the person on LinkedIn, which is nice. And yeah.
Maybe is there any burning immediate question that anybody has before we start? Amazing, thank you.
Is there a benefit to... Oh, sorry, I thought I was talking loud enough. Is there a benefit, sorry, my name is Maya.
Hey, Maya.
Nice to meet you. Is there a benefit to joining your different social media accounts to LinkedIn, or should you keep them separate in terms of certain content from your social media going up there? Because obviously I'm posting about my cats, so it's hard to not have that come up on my profile and give people a different idea of what I'm selling.
Yeah, so I consider, if you consider LinkedIn like a country, and let's say it's, let's call it a city. Let's say it's Berlin. You know that Berlin has certain cultures, certain people, sorts of modus operandi that people like behave and like, right? But then you go to Rome, it's different. So if you understand the place and the people and the behaviors, you will then consider the content and how you behave. So that's the sort of plain answer, but I'd say try and make sure that the time you spend on LinkedIn drives you closer to the vision you want to be or what you want to provide. So like, if it doesn't make sense to share cat photos on LinkedIn because it doesn't get you closer to your vision, don't do it.
But the social media accounts are sort of connected.
No,
No.
they're not.
Well, my stuff comes up.
Okay, then you've connected something together. Yeah, because what I say on Instagram is not what I say on LinkedIn, and it's not that I'm different, right? It's just that I'm sharing to a different audience. Now, you guys don't want to see me on Instagram. No, okay, cool. All right, let's jump into this, right? And why I say don't sleep on LinkedIn is because everybody has a LinkedIn profile here, right? Right, and everyone has one, but I'm gonna be honest, we're sleeping on gold, right? And it's okay, because I'm going to be here to turn on the alarm, and no one's gonna snooze on LinkedIn anymore.
One question.
Yeah.
Are you gonna cover these two LinkedIn profiles you can have, right? What is this pay you? You boost yourself,
Yeah.
but then you actually pay pay an annual or a monthly fee. What's the difference between that and the one we were just on normal LinkedIn? What's the value of actually
Paying for LinkedIn.
subscribing and paying for something like LinkedIn versus just a normal LinkedIn?
Cool. I have a decent memory, and I actually do pick it up in this talk, but I'll get to it, right?
That's what I discovered. I want to
Yeah.
know if it was waste my money or not.
Perfect. Cool. Could everyone get their phones out? And we're going to play a little bit of game, just to get going. And it's going to get there's going to be a screen. You can either punch in you can use your phone camera to follow that QR code, or you can just go to slido.com and put in the code. And for every participant, there's going to be a winner, right? So please play the game, and whoever wins is going to get a free LinkedIn audit and strategy session with me. So as you will see on Slido, it has the ability for you to auto answer, Q&A. So if you don't want to sort of answer any questions or ask any questions, you can do so anonymously on the app, and I'll get to those. But if you go to poll, we're going to play a game. So we are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So it should be about 12 of us going on. So we got about 6. Come on. Does nobody want to win? 7. What? Okay, 8. I'm going to give it about a minute. That's 10. Still waiting? All right, cool. So the first game is super simple. The first game is, wait, let's go back. Stop that. Now let's play. Yeah. So the first game is, what 1 or 2 words come to mind when you think about LinkedIn? Just write 1 or 2 words. Very simple. All right. So we've got network sales, networking, stressful, professional, opportunity, brand, growth, getting job. I like that, but I also don't. What else is there? Networking again. Okay, yeah. So there's one person who hasn't answered before we go, but okay, cool. Let's leave it at that. Please do remember this word cloud as we go through the presentation. All right. So today's content, we're going to be speaking about your personal brand.
Sorry to do that, guys.
Yeah.
My app restarted and crashed. Perhaps just go back to the
Yeah, the code. Oh, code. No stress. Yeah, please. Because yeah, there will be other games coming through. So if you go slider. Winning. All right, perfect. Yeah, so today we're going to think about your personal and professional goals and strategies, and how you can actually have LinkedIn make those things come to life a lot easier. Then we're going to look at how you can use your profile to create demand. We then also going to think about making time to think and create, and then how to make LinkedIn work for you. And that's where I'll answer your question. Cool. So, why is that skipped? Sorry, guys. That should not be a knowledge check. Okay, yeah, let's get personal. So who in the room has a vision, right? Let's go through this quickly. Like, who has a vision for themselves professionally? So nobody has a vision. So you do. You do? Okay. Excuse me? There should be no one that doesn't. Please elaborate on that. Yeah, it could be anything. But I think what I'm trying to explore is, do you confidently feel that you have a vision for yourself? Okay, and it's just a yes or no question. Yeah. Cool. Then if you do you have a strategy that you can comfortably say that you're working on to achieve your vision? Fair, and that's a great answer, right? But you're constantly thinking about that strategy because you've got a vision at the top of your board, right? And then with that strategy, are you trying different tactics? So if you can see what I've described and you use the nice glasses, it's actually a lens. We all should technically think about our vision, constantly strategize on how we can achieve that vision, and use different tactics. What we do, we normally start with the tactics. And that's the honestly bad thing about social media. 7 hacks this. Use this in the next 30 days. Those are all tactics because that clouds our minds so that we can't even think about a strategy. And that's why most likely most of us can't even comfortably say I have a vision because we've been fed information that I need to be fit, I need to have a six-pack, that's my vision. Same thing with LinkedIn. But I'll give you a quick background around LinkedIn. LinkedIn started in 2022 as a job platform where networking professionals came together. So whoever said job, correct. Then in 2007, it started in the US, about 7 million people were on the platform. So it was one of the fastest growing internet platforms around the world. Fast forward to 2016, it was the biggest and still to date the largest tech acquisition by Microsoft. That's when LinkedIn evolved into a content platform, a learning platform, and a recruitment platform. So today, LinkedIn has recruitment, learning, and social. That's actually what LinkedIn is, right? So if you don't understand that evolution, you need to understand LinkedIn has recruiting, learning, and social. Where do you play? Right. So my story on LinkedIn. If you can see there, I started my first LinkedIn profile in 2015. Before I was studying in Barcelona. I didn't know anything about LinkedIn, even though I should have, but I needed my first job. I started a profile, and I'm actually South African, but I didn't get a job in Barcelona. It was super tough. I was 21, 22, but competing for entry job level finance jobs against Russians who could speak 5 languages. Because Barcelona is a city that everybody wants to be. And I really was in a deep place because my parents had afforded me so much, but I couldn't get my first job. Came back to South Africa. And of course, as a South African person who's coming back to their country, I looked like the best thing that God could have made. And it played to my favor. I don't know if you guys know Outsource CFO. I joined them at a team. There were about 8. We scaled to about 30 people, and it got to my head, and I was like, ooh, I can do this thing. Let me start my own business. So then that next photo is where I started my first business, and I met most of those guys on LinkedIn because I put a post out and said, guys, I'm going to build my first marketing agency. Who wants to join me? On LinkedIn, I found these guys based in Cape Town. We started my first business. Then that next photo is the same business, but I scaled it, and I met my co-founder on LinkedIn. We built the business for 4 years, graduated to EO. Do you want to know the crazy thing why I put that photo in cartoon? I never met her face-to-face. I never met her face-to-face. Never met her face-to-face. Up to today. Everything was virtual. And I met her on LinkedIn. Closed the business down about 10 months ago. It was super sad, but I met my co-founder. Where do you think I met my co-founder? That is Rainier. I met him on LinkedIn. You can go ask Rainier. We met. Napkin paper. Let's get into business. What do you think made this so easy for me? Besides LinkedIn, it was actually creating value and showing people on LinkedIn. But we'll get to how you can do that. But I don't know what's next. But I definitely know a lot of that effort will come through LinkedIn. So that's my story. So with the 3 things that I was speaking about, I think when it comes to LinkedIn, you need to have a vision for LinkedIn. And my vision for LinkedIn is that when everybody speaks about me, or at least I'm not in the room, I would love them to be like, that person's useful around the subject. That's it. I don't want them to buy my stuff. I just want them to be like, that person's so useful because they're constantly giving value away. And that's the vision. 40 years from now, the same thing. I want people to be like, I like that profile because that guy behind it is useful. So with that, I now have a strategy. And this is a tactic you can use on how to build a one-page strategy, right? All strategy is, in my words, it's a bunch of assumptions. It's you creating context, which is basically research, and you need to buy into that strategy. That's it. And ChatGPT makes it super easy for you. You can ask yourself these questions, answer them, put it into ChatGPT and say, condense this into a one-page strategy. And then you go on your way. Strategy, if you think about war, strategy is like what you need in a battle. The battle is constantly changing. So your strategy will change, but the vision is the war. So your strategy needs to be set, be aggressive with your strategy, but be patient with your winning the war. So you gotta have a vision for how your LinkedIn is. So quick knowledge check. From the content I just shared, how do people feel? Red, green, or amber? I'll give it a minute, let's go. Yeah, you just have to talk within the group and then we can... Yeah, green? Amazing. So I'm winning. You could probably teach that back to me. I like it. I like this group. I like this group. Okay, so we've got an amber. There's an amber over here and there's an amber. Okay, perfect. You know, I would love this group to possibly highlight what made it so digestible. Like what made that section super easy to understand. Or at least, even if it's not easy, what stood out?
So bana ba ala ba ba customer le kule ba ngena laba and companies come here to look for people. Mama, we can run in the past.
Okay. Perfect. And in this table over here, what was a bit shaky in terms of not fully moving towards green? But if there's not anything, you don't have to answer.
I think it's the caution to the thing that you know what you're looking for.
Okay.
What I appreciate about you is the fact that you speak with confidence and you speak with passion as well. So it's for me understanding what underscores that. That's what I'm wondering about while I'm digesting what you share.
Okay, perfect. As we move on, the knowledge check is not about me, right? I think we need to be a bit more aware on, am I sharing knowledge that you're digesting? So I would love that, yes, thank you for allowing me to understand that I'm confident in my content, but it's about you being confident in the content itself. So there's going to be more knowledge checks, but that's what the knowledge check is. Perfect. So the next section is around your profile and how to position your profile. So everybody technically has a profile, and now we've thought about our vision. We've also thought about our strategy. Now the first tactic is to position your profile correctly, right? And let's quickly go through a quick order. So if you can see here, I've scored these two different banners. Who's got a banner? Brilliant, like that. Oh, the banner is that top space.
I haven't been on LinkedIn for a long
No stress, you've got a banner. Now, if you can see, on the left, that's bad. On the right, considerably okay. And you'll see why now, right? Because it's all about storytelling, right? maybe the guy on the right is selling bikes, maybe. I mean, on the left. And the lady on the right is maybe like a techie. I'm not too sure. But those are a bunch of brands. Cool? Now we go to the profile photo. The guy is standing next to a Tata, but we thought he was selling bikes. Interesting, right? And then the girl, okay, you can see her, so it's just presentable. So maybe the trust factor is increased. Now we go to the headline. Oh, so the guy on the right is a graphic designer, right? And the guy on the left is a graphic designer, and the lady on the right is a tech designer. They're both in the same space, but look at how the storytelling on images created a different story. Who would you trust with your graphic design? The one on the right. Okay. Anybody would trust the one on the left? Be honest, right? And that's the power of just putting the correct banner and image in place. Now we go about to the about section. Okay, it's a bit small here, but basically on the left, the guy is still talking about how he graduated from the south of Carolina as a bachelor degree. But the one on the right is talking about how she's supporting entrepreneurs on their growth journey. Not talking about herself, but through herself and her value. It's not I did this, but it's I want to help, I support, right? And then contact information. So I want us to think of our LinkedIn profile as a sales landing page. How many people don't make it easy for people to get in contact with you? It's just a little hack. Yeah?
Say that again.
It's just a normal, so you know when you go onto a website and you know that you want to buy the product, what annoys you most about the checkout? So it's a website, but it doesn't have the contact me page. It doesn't have a buy now page. You scroll to the bottom, there's no number, there's no address, but you want that product. How annoying do you feel? How annoyed do you feel? Even though you might not even be frustrated, what's the first thing you do? Move away from the website. Missed opportunity. Same thing with your LinkedIn. And experience section, same thing. So if you can see, he worked at so many different places, but how, it's so interesting. And we don't credit ourselves enough with design language. The fact that you don't connect to a company feels tacky, right? You know, a profile that doesn't have the logo, but we all say, oh, I love that person's logo. But on our profiles, if we look today, we don't connect to some of the biggest companies we've connected to, right? You might have worked at like Microsoft, but it's still gray. So you do need to create those cosmetics because we're living in a world where Italy like designer clothes, right? So yeah. And then recommendations. So on the same analogy of like, let's say you land on a sales landing page and it's the best shoes. The fact that you need to check out without experiencing a salesperson, what creates more of the credibility around buying that product? It's one thing.
Other people.
Reviews. Recommendations on LinkedIn, super important, but we just don't take the time to actually go and ask. So, quick knowledge check. Please, it's not about me. It's not about the presentation. It's do you understand what has been shared? And be brutally honest. Please.
Can I ask a question about recommendations?
How
Currently, like if you have, because I've got recommendations, but I think my last one is about 10 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. You know, so personally, who are you wanting the attention of? Right? So if you empathize with them, would they mind if it's up to date or not? So if you empathize with that individual you don't want a DM from me, you're gonna be like, what are you doing? Like, okay. But the person you care about, do they want an updated one or not? And that's where you need to draw inspiration from.
How would you get recommendations? I mean, especially if you work in sort of a corporate, that culture isn't really a culture of giving each other recommendations in the office. Be proud upon it.
Yeah. So I highly, excuse the pun, recommend you don't get recommendation from people in your company. Is it your first job? No. So your previous job, I'm sure you've done amazing work. No, yeah, you cocoa butter, brother. Looking good. You've worked at other companies, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure they'll sing your praises. But it's also about intent. What does your future employee want to see from you today? Right? So if it's your buddy, your salesperson who you manage, please write a recommendation. Oh yeah, he was the best person. Or if it was an employer who the relationship was cordial, but he understood that you built value, ask a recommendation there.
I just have a question regarding the recommendations within your own company. So in my case, I had a line manager when I started working for the company. She has subsequently moved, complete different positions, and she's now a hospital general manager, completely separate from me, from what I do. Would that a recommendation from her be useful? Let's put it this way, I work for the group, but I work for a subsidiary of the group. She's now part of the bigger group. Would that be a good enough? Sorry.
A recommendation, yeah, no.
Recommendation.
So I think, just think of it as reviews, right? So it's about getting genuine feedback from people. People won't look into where the recommendation come from. If you go take a look at my LinkedIn, I actually go and write the people who I work with or I've worked with and say, LinkedIn means a lot to me, and I believe we've done good work. To make this easy, these are the 3 key words I would love you to be dead honest about. Because let's say I implemented your HubSpot, it'll be HubSpot, CRM, and my communication style, ... bullet point. Then I even go further and say, use the nickname we had on our calls. And I encourage my clients to call me Jay. You can go into my LinkedIn, people are like, Jay is interesting. We never got along at first, but then our relationship grew. Not, I highly recommend him, but I make that intentional because that's the type of person, that resonates with me, right? And what's the result of that? I have inboxes going, how do you know Duncan? I can't, or it's interesting. That review didn't seem like the job went well. It didn't. It's what you call frictionless sales. For me, it works really well for me. I've got about 41 recommendations. What's the goal? Well, vanity. Self-loathing.
So are you saying that negative recommendations are positive?
Think about it.
Or is it just, are you saying that to show the duality of someone, that it...
Yeah, for me, it's my character. I value honesty. So, of course, I make sure that the relationship, I might have not hit the goal, but overall, they definitely saw value on where we got to, right? So, technically, you won't see that I did bad work, but there's ones where it's like, oh, I didn't directly work with Jason, but he always seemed to, right? Because I've done quite a few different things. But again, that's personal to me. Yeah. And you could probably be like, isn't that putting you into the space of being getting negative or not getting that future? The person who I want to work with knows that no one's perfect. Yeah. My future clients or CEO, that's the people I want to work with. Cool. Let's play another game. Cool. Just pull out your phone and we're gonna play another game. Let's go here. All right, so please join the quiz. If you go to poll, yeah, perfect. So this is where we're gonna be able to win a game. So basically there's gonna be like 3 to 5 questions. Each question you've got about 10 to 15 seconds, and it's just a multiple choice. And it's all about LinkedIn. Like the basics of LinkedIn. LinkedIn 101. Cool? Let's go. And you can either read the question on your phone or on the screen, but I will read it out for you, just to make it easy. Okay, ready? Steady. Oh. Go. How many posts, articles, and videos are created every 24 hours on LinkedIn? What do you think the right answer is? 2 million.
Is that the right answer?
2 million is the right answer. Nice. All right, on average, a LinkedIn post remains visible in users' feeds for about Okay. Lloyd, what do you think the answer is, brother? A. Well done. All right, what is the maximum character limit for a LinkedIn post? Post. Maya, come on. What do you think the answer is?
A? I haven't gotten any right, so.
3,000.
Everything, don't listen to me.
Elias. Nice, 3 out of 3. You've got a LinkedIn audit and strategy session with me. Make sure to connect. Nice. Alrighty, cool. Let's continue. Okay, cool. And so now we're going to be talking about content, right? And let's address the elephant in the room. Let's address the elephant in the room. Who thinks content is cringy? Yeah. Who suffers from imposter syndrome?
What's the name?
Imposter syndrome. Who sometimes has low confidence? I wrote this, so I've done this workshop about 5-6 times, but I've done them many times at corporates. For some reason, it's just more easier when you got a client and then you go and do this workshop. I added this page on my, just before I did my first workshop, because it's the truth. I suffer from all of those. Got high ADHD, so I've built a system for myself. Sometimes many people think I'm an ideas guy, but when it comes to writing content, I'm can't even start. I don't even know. And it's true. I do find a lot of content cringe, but the crazy part, I find my own content cringe. Sometimes it's so weird, But that's the truth. You're not alone with some of these feelings, But the most important thing is to think about what content is. This is content. We are all content. The clothes you're wearing is messaging. It's all content, right? But on LinkedIn, content comes in the format of written, video, and audio, right? Then why does it matter? Content has the power to move nations, start wars, heal. Content is super powerful. There's that saying, content is king, but I actually think context is queen, right? So content is very important. And I'm going to show you how you can create content, right? But how do people feel about this, content itself now?
I'm concerned about content, even though I'm a content creator. Just that there's also now with AI, there's just so much content. And it's so much of it is just rubbish.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have a deep reluctance to contribute to another job that's nutrition and medicine. So I don't know how, so obviously the answer to that is to create content that isn't nonsense. But it's fun.
100%.
The biggest cringe moment of my life was looking back at Facebook statuses I wrote 10 years ago. So I don't want to get in that same position in 10 years' time in LinkedIn, so I just post that.
I like that. Be the better version.
I think maybe a question on how do you create?
Are we going to get into that?
Oh,
Yeah, that's where we're going.
Okay. Which one are we in?
We're in the content creation. But what did you want to see? What was the question?
So, so a lot of people, I have a lot to say on LinkedIn of different perspectives, different industries. But how do you actually create? What is the right thing to say and when?
Yeah, you can dive. That's a deeper question, but we'll dive a bit into that now. So let's get back to that lens. when you think about your content, I think you should have a vision for your content. You have a strategy and tactics. What I mean by vision about your content, it's quite, when I think about simple, it's not, the most complex things, actually the best form of, let's say, strategy is trying to make them simple. But it's actually the most complex in its process to get something simple, right? So my advice, again, is just to think about what is content. So it's like, what are people saying about me when I'm not in the room? That's a great question. That's the story you want for your content. Then from that, you'll think about doubling down on a strategy that gets you closer to that vision, and then you'll use the right tactics. So for myself, in the next 10 years, I want to dive deep and narrow around the skills development space. And I know that when I'm 40, I want people to be like, wow, that guy empowered an industry by being useful. And it's the B2B salespeople. That's it. That's what I want my content to resonate. And the strategy is, of course, workshops. I'm creating a digital product. And that's a strategy. And the tactics is partnering with the right people, the right institutions. But if I didn't have that vision, I'd be going everywhere. Again, very simple on how to create, once you've got that vision, a strategy, a one-page strategy for your content. A great question here. What personal stories or experiences can I share that align with my brand, which will create a tone of voice? You've got to sit with that. One of them, not what I did on Facebook, right? Another one was, who is my target audience? Who's your target audience on LinkedIn?
Well, it depends. For specific products, I think there's different target audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think at the moment, probably executives, yeah.
Perfect.
And I mean, over the last 2 years, I've created had a big program, but specific for executives, has been very successful. Yeah.
So tough question, then I ask my clients, who don't you want to work with? Who is not part of your target audience? Because we normally say everybody is part of our target audience. So it's pretty cool to go and ask these questions, and then again, ask ChatGPT. Use the same words, don't change the format, create a one-page strategy. It'll put it together for you. Then you have buy-in, right? You need to buy into the strategy. So once you've got that content strategy, now we can talk about copywriting 101. So on LinkedIn, if you can see up there, do you guys understand what the information above the fold is? So above the fold, if we look here, basically it's all the information, I'll go here. Basically it's all the information before you click more. So this is what you see on someone's first post. You know that. You don't see the full information. So with that in mind, you need to be attracting and engineering the first 10 to 30 words you have on LinkedIn, which is that we call the hook. After that is the meat. Basically, do you see now? Because everybody wants to know those secrets, he said, do you want to know them, right? Then you give the person the meat. Making sense? And then after that, you need to summarize. And most important, you need to then have a call to action. That's copywriting on social. And you know, what's interesting, I get to speak to millennials, all ranges of people. Unfortunately, please take this with a pinch of salt. Lecturers or people who've always felt like they're writers are the worst writers on social because they misunderstood the platform and the format, right? There's something called in classic writing the crescendo, basically leading up to the most important part of the article. Social writing is put the most important part up front. And it's hard, resistance to change, no. That's why social doesn't work for some people. So that's social writing. And I'll show you some tips, but there's some frameworks which I'm gonna give you this presentation, but there's so many different frameworks. Like You can, problem aggregate, with solution. These are all writing styles, which I don't think you need to dive too deep into. But what I do want to make sure that you know is, here's some evidence, right? I've been building a digital course for the last 6 months. And what I did, confidently, but not that confidently because I've got a new business partner, I said, I'm going to build this in public for accountability. I said, LinkedIn, I'm building a B2B sales course. I don't know who it's for, but I know that I want to help an industry. You can go find that post. That was 6 months ago. People, 1 or 2 likes. Then I was like, oh, I've actually found the modules, but I still don't know who it's for. But here's a Google form, because I would love to know if anybody's out there, could I build something for you around the topic? I got over 50 feedback. People were like, and I got questions. I was like, what would you pay? What don't you like about online courses? So this was all free feedback for me to put back into the course I'm creating. And then along the way, I've been also meeting new people, have pictures of Abdullah saying, oh, Rais, I've spoke to this person about the course. They said this was bad. I built the accountability in public. This is Mohara, right? This is it's a venture studio in Cape Town. They had a poll about me to come and do a course, or like around the course that I'm building. I got an email, hey Jason, our team would love for you to come to their office to talk about the course you're building. The fact that content controlled the narrative while I wasn't even in the room. Yeah, that's the power of content. Cool, so here's some writing tips. Write actually for a 7-year-old. Grade 7 is the level you want to write. So the word crescendo, I should have said, the climax or at the end. Use simple language on LinkedIn because our audience is super busy, right? They're CEOs, they're professionals. They don't want convoluted messages because we're so tired and we've got so much things to do on our time. The most simple language actually is so attractive. The next is speak like you write. Also write like you speak, basically. Why do you think that's important? Authenticity. Imagine you read my LinkedIn post, right? And you can see I'm quite casual, right? But there's a lot of I've got a massive amount of anxiety. You can see I'm swaying back and forth. But imagine you go on my LinkedIn, I'm all of a sudden using these demure. Imagine, there would be a massive gap of authenticity, right? You won't find that word, please. So write like you speak. The other one is one-to-one marketing. So who reads a LinkedIn post to their staff? Does anyone do that? No. We read LinkedIn alone. So if it's alone, and if you read something, you want to feel like you're talking to that person, not that that person's talking at you to a group. So don't sound like an ad. We have done so much, and we're going to do more with our team, versus I've done a lot with my team. We've provided so much value for these type of clients. It would be interesting if you work with us. It's a very different tone. And it converts because most people sound like radio ads on LinkedIn. This is a really cool one. Scan for F. So like websites, I feel like you might know this, Elias. Scan for F? No? Websites are built like this. The most important information, so basically when you read a website, we most likely scan the first thing, scan the second thing, and then go straight down to the bottom right. It's weird, but we do it. We scan the first thing, scan the first 2 lines, and then we go down to the bottom. Treat your posts the same. Make sure the first 2 lines are important, and then your call to action is strong. This is the upside down V. Basically, the most important information should be up front, and then create white spaces. This, I think, is a slam dunk. A lot of people just pack their content into verbal diarrhea. Unfortunately, you might feel that you're smart and you might have such a beautiful message, but it's what social media is. The moment someone just sees 15 lines, they actually feel like, oh, that's vile. Some people feel that's vile. Can you imagine?
Sorry, if I can just add something to what you say now. Very long posts. I mean, there's a lot of neurodivergent people.
Wow.
And I'm a neurodivergent person, and if I see a big post, I zone out, and it's like, I don't have the energy to deal with this. So I'll move it over. So, yeah, that's all I just add.
Beautiful.
And especially nowadays, if you're looking at everything that's happening, there's a lot of neurodivergent people. Sorry, I'm repeating myself.
Don't worry, I've got dyslexia. Yeah. So before posting on LinkedIn, I actually get this massive anxiety because I got an issue with spelling, right? So, and then when I can read something, but my mind tells me I've spelt it right because I'm sounding in my head. Now, that anxiety it's quite a lot, but I've built a system around that, Grammarly, and using spell check and slowing down actually. Copy tools. But in the same breath, I can understand white space, because imagine someone like me who struggles with dyslexia. Now you bunch it up. I'm scared to even read it to myself because I'm going to be like and messing the words up. So I check out.
What is this? What is the kind of wisdom on being possible? 2,000 characters is the limit, and everyone
You don't want to, yeah.
So, like, shorter is better.
What do you think?
I'm excited. You get different performance on posts. It doesn't seem to necessarily affect.
Exactly. What do you think matters? What does matter to you?
What matters to me?
That you put content out there.
Yeah.
Like, what would matter?
Other people read it.
Oh, so if it's long posts and Jason's dyslexia doesn't get past it, you can't serve everybody. But if the people are inboxing you and being like, I love what you're writing, makes a lot of sense, speak your truth. But there is enough research to hold weight around less is more. There's something called the great ignore. Because of stimulation and fear, people are more inclined to enjoy brevity and clarity than long words, long sentences, and long paragraphs. Over here, so cool, let's keep moving. We're about to finish. Don't put hashtags in the copy. So hashtags in the copy look like, let's say, let's read that. So if it says, don't put hashtags in the copy, some people would go, do not, did you see, there's my dyslexia, did you see, I said don't. See that? Do not hashtag put. Do you know that if you had to put that into an AI tool and say read it, it's going to say do not hashtag put. But people put hashtags into their copy. Hashtag successful day. I'm having a hashtag business meeting. We're like computers. We're going to formulate what we see into our mind, and it's going to be like, not valuable. Versus if the same message was clean, the conversion rate would almost double. But people just do it because of habit, not knowing.
But isn't that when you're marketing to a certain demographic of people? Because if you're creating posts for the younger generation to want to read or to engage with, that's how they read, that's how they see it, that's how they understand it. Because if you wrote a plain language, a plain sentence, there's no engagement, there's no excitement. I say this from teaching kids and like how they read, that's how they read, like even in essays and stuff, they'll write like that. I'm not saying that that's the right thing in an essay in school, but how they're engaged in posts.
Perfect. So now let's go back to vision and the strategy. Is your vision to reach students on LinkedIn?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. If it's for a certain age group. So if you're trying to reach, like, you're trying to get the hip little kids into your company, and the 10-year-old high tech person, and then if they read a long sentence or a sentence that's cohesive and makes sense, it's not as cohesive for younger generations.
It's a great study, yeah, and do take everything that I say with a pinch of salt. So I've got, I work with a lot of young people, right? I'm still just 30. So if you're talking about employable people who I already talk to, who's like my sister, and I do a bunch of workshops, putting hashtags in the copy from their future CEO does not attract them to their CEO. So, like, I don't see my future CEO saying hashtag doing the things on LinkedIn, right? Especially if you're trying to attract a cream of the crop versus trying to empathize with them in their language and also still being true to yourself as a boss, because now when you say hashtag demure or doing the things, now then they meet you at their at the office, you're the most upright person. That's when now we get mental health issues. My boss is not who I thought they were. So that's I would debate on that, right? But I do understand what you mean. There's different platforms. If I think you're thinking about that future generation, a CEO who rocks up on TikTok, beautiful. Beautiful. A CEO who rocks up on TikTok, 100%. And you see, do you feel that like that resistance is what you should lean into and explore versus resist? So then the optimal character count, like we spoke about, and then this works for me, reading it out loud. Do you know what's so interesting about reading it out loud? You actually hear yourself. And it actually gives you the ability to simplify or eliminate filler words. And then I think the most important thing is have fun. Cool, let's do a knowledge check, and then we're going to close up. Cool, discuss in the group, and then we just put up one of the popsicles.
Great more content.
All three. Oh yeah, cool, let's go. So this table over here, green, beautiful. Nice.
Pick a color? Red.
I'm good at green one.
Green.
Green, okay, nice. Green, beautiful. Okay, let's choose that table at the back there. What did you, oh no, Hugh. Elias, yeah. What, not stood out, but basically, teach it back to us. What resonated? Okay, no, thank you. Then if you don't want to put on the spot, that's great. But maybe they don't say one key word.
Not a keyword, but it's better understanding of the power of the social media platform. For somebody who gets overwhelmed with social media, this is, I think, a bit more structured way of getting the heck up into another job.
Love that.
Although not at my age, so.
No, it's never too late to start. No, never too late to start.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
you won't guess my age, so it's fine.
What's it doing well? This table,
I think simplicity is
Simplicity?
key to selling yourself, your soul. I mean, simplicity in the way that you.
simplicity. This table over here. Any teachings?
The word that comes up for me is authenticity.
Authenticity.
It's like a combination of authentic and simplicity. Not simplicity. Thanks,
Yeah, okay, cool.
Sorry, last question. Is there a time to post? You know, is it better 10 a.m.? When do the most people go online?
Yeah. This is it's such a, I don't know. Like I've spent 8 years on this platform and I don't know. But what I can say is if you lead with intention and value consistently, people will find you. Yeah. You should love each post you put up. Yeah.
It begs a question. I mean, someone you follow, you'll see their posts.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they did that or
Or if you don't look at them at 8 o'clock in the morning, you only look at it at 12 noon, you won't see it.
Mm.
Is that correct?
Depends.
Because there'll be more and more, it depends on if you follow. There's more and more things that are posted anyway. So I just find it quite extreme. I think, yeah, I'm so happy I actually got onto LinkedIn at that moment. I might have seen this talk, for example, or not seen it.
Yeah.
The more people engage with the post, the more it's keeps it level.
Oh, it does?
Yeah,
I didn't
the
know.
post gets a lot of engagement.
Okay, that's a very good, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but you see, the danger with where we all are at, with LinkedIn, myself included, if we're trying to gamify LinkedIn, you will fail. If you're worried about your best friend seeing the post, you will fail. You need to understand that what you can do and what most people predict that they can do in a year versus what they could do in 10 years are wildly off. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year, underestimate what they could do in 10. 10-year decade thinking, vision. Yeah.
In terms of the post, should you like plan on the time from one post to the next? Is it like the time you should take 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? You just post whatever comes to your mind. How often should you structure out the time of the post?
Cool. I think then you talk about cadence. Yeah. So the cadence, I would not cannibalize your profile. Like you wouldn't show up to every networking party and honestly wave your business card around. You would be strategic and like allow your content to speak for itself. I know some people who are doing 10 times better than me, but they only post once a week. I envy them, but I do take a look at each of their posts. It's amazing. But one hidden truth is LinkedIn is a tactic outside of a greater strategy. LinkedIn, I do these, I didn't want this to be recorded. I've made it a rule of thumb that this experience is for the people in the room. Nothing is recorded. That's my style, because I know online attention is credited to offline relationships.
Maybe, I hope you could clarify this. I was always under the impression that LinkedIn was about just putting your profile together and not engaging. So it sounds like you're speaking a lot about posting, and I've never gone on to post, if that makes sense, because I didn't think that it was a social media platform that needed engagement. I thought it was just putting your profile and then it was a CV thing and we don't talk to each other and we just sit in our boxes. I thought that's what it is. So are you saying that you have to be proactive in the approach of being on LinkedIn and being a visible, active user?
So if we track back to when I was sitting and I asked you what's your relationship with LinkedIn, you've already told me that you thought that it was a space that you just upload a CV.
Yeah, I thought it was like headhunting.
Yes. And I've shared some information. I've challenged that paradigm or perspective. I don't think you should do anything. But by me sharing information, I'm showing you with more activity, these are some of the results you can experience. So if you're looking for those type of results, where you want to be in front of your ideal client, like CEOs, founders, and you feel like you're confident enough, and of course you are, and you have the value, this is what happens when you are engaging. There are people who aren't on LinkedIn to not be on LinkedIn, but they're very successful people. But throughout my 8 years, and if I have to be biased, LinkedIn's got 5. You could be here today by doing not more time on LinkedIn, but the right things. You could be a singer in New York today. If you just do 1% better on LinkedIn today for 365 days, you could be in New York today. I'm telling you. But you have to do the right things, not more things.
So engaging.
Which is part of that, yes. Which is part of those right things.
So I haven't been active on LinkedIn because I haven't answered the why yet. So why should I? And it comes from that. Understanding that it's a platform to create your profile, possibly link with other professionals through that. And so that's something that I'm still processing. And I think there's another layer to it because, so part of the why is, do the why lean towards myself as a person, a professional? Does it lean towards the organization that I'm involved with and that I want to actually then, see growing? So how do I separate the two? Where do I lean towards between those two? So that's part of my why question that I'm still processing.
And take your time with that. It's two of the biggest decisions you'll make in life is your lifetime partner and the work you do, right? Those are two, like you spend most time with them and you spend most time at work more than at home. So process that why. And if you understand and you love the work you do, can LinkedIn bring you closer? Is it LinkedIn a tactic that can make you fall more in love with the work you do? Right? And if it's yes, then you double down and say, how do I make sure that the tactic, which is LinkedIn, which is going to make me fall in love with the work I do, how do I need to show up? And to answer your question, it's got to be about you. People buy from people. People don't buy brands. They don't buy websites. They buy people. People buy from people. Trust me. Like, it's hard to believe, but if you see how Elon Musk, Richard Branson, great, and this is not confidential, but Agent Gore, does anyone know him? Who's that?
Discoveries.
Go back 3 years on his LinkedIn. You would never have seen him. 3 years in the journey, acquisition by China. Scaling tremendously. Where's he standing? Right next to his staff, shaking hands at Virgin Active. Who are people buying? Agent Gore. So that's an example of personal branding supporting the organization's growth, right? No one really enjoys, I have the best company, I do this. They really enjoy, my company's not the best, but I use the product, My company's not the best, but I believe in it too. Oh, by the way, I have these shortcomings, or I have other interests. Because sometimes you don't get to see who the CEO is. And it's a tough thing to swallow, right? But I think, again, this is information that I would love you to go home and just explore.
I have a question regarding followers. So I've been on LinkedIn now for many years. And the company that I previously worked, at that stage, it was almost like Facebook, the old, I think, nudging or whatever that did in Facebook. So I got a lot of people that worked with, well, they didn't work with me, they worked in the company. Complete different department to what I do. The engineers, I'm more on the payroll side. And so they are still sitting there, but they're not a target audience, okay? What I'm trying to say is, who should you actually accept as a follower? Should you just, anybody that just asks to follow you?
Yeah.
That you've got probably no link to or anything? Or, like in my case, where I've got a lot of old, links, followers that I don't even know what they're doing, because I see they post things about mining and that's not in my industry right now.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think you should couple your LinkedIn contacts in 3 buckets. Your future clients or partners, your networking, mentors, and then your immediate peers. Anyone who falls out of that, you can actually not delete them, but mute their posts. But if you constantly are thinking not your clients, your future clients, right? Because if you're trying to invite the client you need tomorrow on LinkedIn, you're going to be that spammy person, right? But if you invite your future clients and you're already sharing good value, they will follow you for sometimes 2 months if your content's valuable, and they will reach out. I'm telling you now, they will reach out. Then mentors and like networking partners, like for myself, like we're in a slight relationship, right? Invite me on LinkedIn. You'll see some of my posts. You can now inbox me. Be like, I started this thing. I would love some feedback. Maybe we have a relationship on LinkedIn in 1 year. Then you just don't like my content. You can delete me. But I aided your growth around something that you want to continue with. And then immediate peers, people you're already working with. Sometimes when you're the advocate for change, they start to refer you. Be like, it's crazy. Like he was, 1 year he went to a workshop, he started doing this stuff. I like what he's doing. They sometimes are your referrers. Great example. He was actually a client, and I invited him. Now look where we sit. Yeah. Cool. Let's finish up on the last tactic. I'll go quick. So this one's for you, right? So around LinkedIn, how you can make it work for you. And it's about being smart. So I want to show you, can anybody... Excuse me?
Are you saying I'm not smart?
No. You're intelligent. I just have the smarts, which you can switch on and off. Sales Navigator 101. So does anybody see, Rais, can you read the title of that person who I'm messaging?
I saw you pop up in here.
No, just the title. It's
Blue Rock. Oh, Managing Director of Blue Rock Investments.
No, it's BlackRock. Yeah.
Oh, Black.
Does anybody know BlackRock? Right? BlackRock is, I don't know, Illuminati. Apparently, it's got a lot going on. I met the CEO of BlackRock about 3 months ago, and that was my message to him. I'll read it to you. His name is Kareem. Oh, I don't get shot. Kareem Hay. I saw you pop up in FT Online Mag. I'm interested in the financial space, and I would love to learn more about EFTs. ETF, sorry. It would be great to connect. I'll be in the UK in June, connecting with old friends and business networking. Maybe we could grab a coffee. I'd love to meet you. So the psychology around this, which I've learned, is people love to hear their own name. Imagine on a LinkedIn post you see your name first versus hey. It's different. It's like, what? I use slang, FT, because I know these individuals call it FT. And even if they don't know, they'll be like, I get what this guy's doing. And I also said Online Mag. Some people will be like, that's unprofessional. Why would you talk to a CEO like that? But if you go to a CEO and a bride, do they sound like a suit and tie people? They don't. They are just normal people just like you and I. And then the last thing is, like dating, make sure that you're important. You're more important than them just by saying, I've got other friends, I'm going to be doing my own thing. Maybe you can join, right? Psychological, right? But maybe people in the room will be like, oh, that's manipulative. End of the day, my vision is to be useful, right? And he knows that. We're not doing business together, but he loved the conversation. It's too much red tape, and it was genuine. The unfortunate part, most people will do the opposite and force their intention by saying, hey, Kareem, I am the best at this. We have worked at this. We would want to meet you because of this. Make sure this. Now, without structure and intent and style, you'll never get the meeting because most people on LinkedIn sound like that. And that's just an unfortunate game. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator, the difference is I can message, I think, 50 to 100 people a day. You also get access to the back end, which, because of all of us have left intent signals on the internet. You told me when you graduated, you went to school, you got a job. All that is stored data. Now, I pay for LinkedIn Sales Navigator to have search capabilities around those intent signals that you gave on LinkedIn. So I can go into LinkedIn and say, anybody who went to UCT, who has the title this, who graduated this, give me all of those people because I want to message them. Yeah, it's very powerful when it comes to lead generation.
So can I just add on that? Sales Navigator, before I went to Dubai, Jason introduced me to it and it worked like a bomb. I reached out to a couple of people in Dubai and next thing you know, we got a couple of jobs and introduced it. I mean, like you can do a proper narrow search of South Africans in Dubai, and they'll respond to you and they'll have a coffee because they just lonely in Dubai. And they'll open up their network to you. It works like a bomb.
It's before Google. So the search engine precision is higher than Google Analytics because the metrics are so personal, right? But that's changing with how much Google can listen to our phones and things. But that's what the power of Sales Navigator is. Very powerful tool. And how do you equate for the ROI? So let's say it's 800 Rand, 1,000 Rand. What's the value, the lifetime value of landing one client today? If it's 200,000 Rand, what is 1,000 Rand to getting to your right client on time? That's how you equate it. Like, why would I want 1,000 Rand software? I don't have any of that. And that's cost evaluation mindset thinking versus budget thinking. So, to answer the few questions around cats and bad content, you should curate your feed. So just switch when you see a cat, you can just go on the dot and just say mute that person. You won't see it again. Leave meaningful comments. So this is a strategy where instead of creating content, because most people are passive users on LinkedIn, go and leave meaningful content, comments, because the psychology is the person, Jason has gone and put out content. He's searching for validation. He's waiting for a like and he's waiting for someone to comment. The passive users love gossip. Don't we all read and then go and check who commented, right? We all do. So now if you understand that, why don't you then use that attention space to then write your own post in someone's comment section? I met with Patrice Motsepe because the Time Bank had that transition with the new CEO. I wrote on his post, I was like, interesting how you're going up against the biggest banks in the world because South Africa has apparently the best financial plumbing in the world. He was like, what? He inboxed me and he was like, where did you get this information? I was just like, it's all on the internet. Oh yeah, true. Because I got his attention. And you don't have to be connected to the person to comment. You don't have to be connected to the person to comment on their content.
And I think also sometimes we think somebody who gets some 1,000, 2,000 likes
is not reading their content.
It's not reading the content, but they have a heavy inbox. But a lot of times they don't. So a couple of months, reached out to Teto Nyati, this CEO of Altron and was Microsoft before, just for a speaking gig because we had some conference. And he was like, okay, you'll speak and whatever. And then I was busy on a deal. And I just asked him, are you interested in buying the BE shares on this deal? And he's actually buying the shares.
Crazy.
And I'm facilitating the deal. So it's like small conversations, just reaching out to somebody and you never know who responds. And yeah, you can become literally a millionaire in a night, you know?
Yeah. And then the last thing, I think, have fun. Honestly, have fun, right? So what I do to build systems, as we finish off, is I book time for engagement. So I book in my calendar, 15 minutes engage on LinkedIn. Don't doom scroll. So it's a meeting on my calendar. Then I set bi-weekly time to create content on a Sunday, right? It's an hour and I write notes back to myself throughout the week on my WhatsApp. So I have my number saved as me, and I write to myself, and I put hashtag LI LinkedIn for notes. Now, for ideas, when I get to the white paper, where do I go? My WhatsApp channel. And I go, search LI, date. And there's like all these, and I'm like, oh, Elias gave me that idea. Then I get to it, right? Then I set time for outreach and networking. All those times in my calendar are green, which means money. All right, cool. You can take a picture of this for some tech that I use. Basic ChatGPT, Surf is a CRM, Bright is a sort of like a studio where it can help put your ideas in and then write content. Taplio is a place where you can scrape the best ideas and content into one place. Crystal is a weird tool, but you can put it on top of a LinkedIn or profile the individual in terms of like this. So just know how to approach the person, don't know how valid is that. Canva, great design tool to make pictures cool. Hemingway, to copy and paste your content into there. It'll give you the grade. So remember, you need to write for a grade 7. It'll tell you if you're a grade 1 or grade 12. And then Grammarly is a great tool for spelling and grammar. Cool, let's play the last game quickly. The last game. Wow, thanks for staying, guys. Sure. So yeah, after all that information, what is 1 or 2 words that come to mind when you think about LinkedIn now? Potential. Opportunity. Fun. Authenticity. Content. Tool and networking. Connecting. Grade 7/outreach. Okay, or maybe there's one more person. Alrighty. So yeah, as you can see, things have changed, right? So if there's any questions, please do let me know. But as we're finishing up, please do add me on LinkedIn. But to make it super easy, go and Google your name. Type your first name and second name into Google. Check what comes up. But yeah, as if everyone does it, does anyone have questions?
Do we get those slides?
Yes, with pleasure. You can steal my content and share it.
Would never do that.
No, please, no. I'll share them.
And you can
I'll
cheat.
Never do that.
I'll share it. Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't mind. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah, I know that we had questions before, but that's a wrap.
Jason, there's one question on Zoom.
Okay.
How do you get a LinkedIn audit? Right?
How do you sign up for the
How do you sign up for the LinkedIn audit?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, add me on LinkedIn. Add me on LinkedIn, right? I want my free audit now. But I'll do one. I'll definitely. If you add me on LinkedIn, I can get you. I'll do an audit.
Sorry, can you just, never mind, that's it on the top there.
Oh, what, my name?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. My name is. There we go. Cool. But yeah, in closing, I'll come to you, Elias. But in closing, who reads a bit of Naval? Anyone? Yeah, so I love this quote. Become the best at what you do. Refine what you do until it's true. Opportunity will seek you out. Luck becomes your destiny. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So this is what I thought about the quote in context of what we learned. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. But there's also a part where you have to create your own luck. You have to be open-minded You have to be consistently trying new things. You have to be looking for opportunities. You have to be prepared to grab them when they come. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jason.